Hello my friends, welcome back and happy Thursday to you. We survived hump day yesterday, so now only one more day to go for Friday. Whatever you're gonna do, if you're gonna go to a bar, happy partying for you. If you're gonna go home, happy resting. Today, drone attacks across Russia have even intensified because this weekend in Russia is the presidential election where Vladimir Putin and other candidates, which are totally fake and the fake opposition and everything, they will compete against each other and Putin will win with a percentage of 70+% of the population support. All bogus, all fake. Why is it tied to the drone attacks? Well, because the Russian Volunteer Corps, or let's call them Russian separatists, because now Ukraine is attacking Russia with the same weapon as Russia was attacking Ukraine with in 2014 with the Donbass and Luhansk separatists, which were totally Russian. Well, now we have Russian citizens in the Russian Volunteer Corps operating on Russian territory still today. Let's call them Russian separatists fighting for Russian independence against Putin. They are still there, and the drone attacks even intensified. Last night, so 5, 6, maybe 12 hours ago of the time I'm making this video, 3 huge explosions happened in big targets, and these were pinpoint accuracy. Ryazan oil refinery, Kstovo oil refinery, and Kirishi oil refinery. In addition to that, also a military airfield near Voronezh. Now, with these 3 attacks of oil refineries, Ukraine took out 10% of the entire Russian oil refining capabilities within 2 days. That is insane, because out of 5 of the biggest Russian oil refineries, 3 are the ones that I just mentioned, and all of them were hit in the last 2 days, and it's all connected to the Russian presidential election. Ukrainians are showing, and the Russian Volunteer Corps are showing to the Russian people that Putin is not able to protect the skies and the borders of Russian Federation, therefore he's not a capable president, which he is not. And you know what's the cherry on the pie, or cherry on the cake, how you call it? That a drone hit an FSB building directly in the city of Belgorod yesterday. On this Twitter post, I'll just summarize you all the hits in the last 24 hours in Russia, and they are truly the biggest Ukrainian air attacks against Russia in the span of this war, and that is all connected to the upcoming weekend presidential election in Russia. Kursk is under air raid warning, Belgorod is under air raid warning, Rostov shot down Ukrainian drones and some drones hit some targets, and Saint Petersburg, which is insanely far away from Ukraine, it's closer to where I'm right now than to Ukraine, they also shot down some Ukrainian drones and some hit the targets. So, and the final sentence here, it sucks when your neighbors invade, eh? Who would have thought that Ukraine would actually invade Russia? That's a funny. And now, my friends, let's look at the summarizing map of locations of all Russian oil refineries. Now, Russia does have quite many of them, as you can see, but most of them, 2/3, are on the western part or European part of the Ural Mountains in the range of Ukrainian drones and some other weapons that I cannot mention right now, but I know of their existence in the armed forces of Ukraine. 1,500 kilometers. See, these are the oil refineries which contribute to about 60 to 70% of the entire Russian oil refining capabilities, meaning about 60 to 70% of the entire Russian petroleum and diesel product export money that goes directly into the Russian armed forces. Ukraine has great potential and possibility to take that money away from Russia by hitting these refineries, and they have been doing that very heavily, very methodically in the last month, especially in the last week actually. Starting from this Monday that happened, in 4 days about 4 to 5 oil refineries have been hit, resulting in 10+% reduction in Russian overall oil refining capabilities, which is a huge loss for Russia, huge loss for their income, very bad. Not Zaibis at all. Now, my friend, what happened in Belgorod and Kursk? We know that Russian Volunteer Corps fighters are fighting inside Russia in those 2 oblasts right now, but the things are even more escalating. Only 2 days before the presidential election in Russia starts, the Russian volunteer corps fighter official message was for Kursk and Belgorod region, you can see it on this video, to evacuate. That we are going to start shelling military targets in Kursk and Belgorod cities and the surrounding areas, and your government hasn't done anything to protect you, so we advise you to evacuate, because this war is not against civilians, it is against Putin's tyrannical power of Russia. The message says that Russia has been shelling peaceful cities and villages of Ukraine, and we are forced to return fire on military facilities in the border regions. Evacuate immediately. And in this message also was said that this shelling will begin in 1.5 hours, and never before has Ukraine actually shelled with artillery Russian territory. Well, now it has begun. This war just escalated. There are a lot of videos from today morning of cars burning in Belgorod, buildings being hit, missiles flying, drones flying, targets being smashed. War has reached Kursk and Belgorod, and the civilians are seeing it, and Russian presidential election will be very difficult to get people to go and actually vote in those two oblasts. In these videos you can actually see a car burning on the road because it was hit by a Ukrainian shell. I mean, shelling means that some shells hit in areas where you don't want them to hit. But what can Ukraine do? Russia has been bombarding Ukrainian border villages and Kharkiv from Russian territory non-stop over 2 years. Almost 3 years very soon. Ukraine has not returned that fire. Well, now they are going to, and they are trying to focus on military targets and Russian oil refining capabilities. This is the first time they are doing so. And in this video we can actually see a Russian civilian filming a Ukrainian drone. It's a very low and loud and slow flying Ukrainian drone, casually flying straight into the FSB headquarters in Belgorod. Straight direct hit. I mean, this is the most important building for the Russian power structure in Belgorod, and it's no problem just to hit it with pinpoint accuracy. Russian air defense is very, very weak in the area. Now, my friends, we'll jump on the completely other side of the world. This is Dominican Republic. This is a children's backpack, and it's so damn stupid. On a children's backpack, there's a word happy. It's colorful, it's nice. But then there's this text, Russian medium tank T-55A. There's a photo of it. I'm surprised they didn't even put the exploding turret on the backpack. It's made for children, and parents actually buy this stuff for children. This must be, I don't know if it's a pro-Ukrainian or pro-Russian message here, but it's just so damn stupid and bizarre. On the other side of the world, kids are going to school with such backpacks. Now, my friends, I'll go to my home country, Estonia, because this next news I really like. It's good news. Finland, now finally in NATO with Sweden. Finland has plans to send its troops to Estonia, stationed in Estonia. In Estonia, we have this military facility, the biggest one, military base in Tapa, which is weird because the word actually means kill in direct translation in English. So yes, the name of the city and the military base is Kill, or to kill. United Kingdom troops are stationed there permanently right now, and Finnish troops might be joining them under the leadership of the UK's officers. That means we would have Finnish presence in Estonia and United Kingdom's presence in Estonia. Sweden will send their troops, a whole battalion, to Latvia, and we don't even need to talk about Lithuania because they have everything from everywhere basically. And Poland, well, they are the regional military powerhouse. So the Baltics will have international NATO military presence in them permanently, and Poland is going to be a juggernaut. So I don't know what plans Putin does have, but there are no plans in conventional warfare that can push this NATO force away from the Baltics or Northern Europe. Now, Finland and Estonia, we do share the same culture and the same language, both Finno-Ugric languages, and the only Finno-Ugric languages in the Baltic countries and in the Nordic countries. Because Swedish and Lithuanian and Latvian, they're completely different language groups. One is Nordic and one is Baltic, but we are Finno-Ugric. That goes with the culture also. We are connected. In the Estonian independence war against Lenin's armies, the Soviet armies in 1918 to 1920, Estonia actually won that war, and this is where Estonian independence was declared. Finnish volunteers came to aid us, to help fight against the Red tyranny. And then when there was the Winter War in 1939 and the continuation war, Estonian volunteers went to help the Finnish army to fight the Red tyranny, and Finland won that war. Well, at least they defended extremely well. So we have deep history in helping each other, we have deep cultural ties, and I'm with two hands welcoming Finnish troops into Estonia. I hope they go through with it. I don't know many words in Finnish, but if you're from Finland, that's all I'm gonna say to you. Suomi mainitu, torilla tavataan. But now, my friends, we'll jump to Sweden and the Baltic Sea, and let's look at the map. Estonia, Latvia, Litva. Sorry, this map is in Russian. Don't know why, but it is. This is Finlandia right here, and this is the island of Gotland. They call it the stationary aircraft carrier because whoever controls the military on this island controls the Baltic Sea. This here is the Kaliningrad Oblast, and Russia's every intent is to close this Suwalki gap between Belarus and Kaliningrad Oblast, and then to take the Baltic states. Because the only way right now they can supply the Kaliningrad Oblast is a very narrow corridor across the Baltic Sea, which goes right past from the Gotland island, and Gotland is only about 120 miles from Kaliningrad Oblast. So whoever controls this island has a lot of leverage over Russian capabilities in Kaliningrad and Saint Petersburg, and also the Baltic Navy of Russia. And you know what Sweden did? Swedish Prime Minister officially asked NATO as the first request to NATO to fortify the Gotland island, to militarize the hell out of this. Because Russia has militarized the hell out of Kaliningrad Oblast. It has missiles, it has troops, it has everything Russia has. Well, now NATO is going to militarize the Gotland island. We can hit back also. Watch out for us. Now we're showing strength. This is what I've been talking about. It's time for actions. Time of words is over. My friends, I will ask you one simple question, and people have been forgetting about this, but where is Gerasimov? Or Gerasimov, which one is correct? Gerasimov, right? Shoigu, Gerasimov, where is ammunition? Well, now Prigozhin should be asking, where is Gerasimov? Nobody has seen him ever since the Ukrainian strike against Russian Black Sea Fleet headquarters in Crimea. It was a very successful and accurate strike. There was a huge kaboom, and possibly there was two demilitarizations, two knocked out cold persons, and that was the commander of the Russian Black Sea Fleet, and the other one was Gerasimov, the chief of staff of the armed forces of Russia. Nobody has seen both of these persons ever since then, not even once, never, ever, anywhere. I don't think they are in this world anymore. And you know why I ask this question now? Because now we get a document from the Russian Ministry of Defense that was signed. Well, usually these documents are signed by Chief of Staff Gerasimov, but now this one was signed by somebody else. It was not Gerasimov. It was signed by Lieutenant General Viktor Pozhnicher. He is a 3-star general. He's much lower than Gerasimov. And why would he sign the document if that's the position of the chief of staff to do so? And we haven't seen Gerasimov anywhere. He was in Crimea when the huge kaboom happened in the Russian Black Sea Fleet headquarters. Maybe he's knocked out cold. Maybe he's sleeping with the fishes, pushing up sunflowers. We don't know. Where is he? But my friends, what I do know is this gave birth to countless memes, and I want to steal about a minute of your precious time right now to show you these memes because they're priceless. This is a real photo of Putin and Gerasimov. Like the posture of this man, fists clenched, shoulders, stomach, looking at Putin's chest, not into the eyes. I mean, this body language here is priceless, and I just cannot even say these words on the right here. Have you seen me? Call 1-800-NAFO. We should put his photos on the milk cartons, which they don't actually do in Europe or in Estonia. Like, I see it on the movies that in the United States, if there's a missing kid, they put it on the milk carton. That doesn't really happen in Estonia. Well, we don't have that many missing kids at all, but like, it would be so weird to see somebody's face on a milk thingy. It's a United States thing. But put his face on a milk. I'll buy that milk. Here we have Putin clown, yes. My friends, now I bring you a Russian State Duma deputy, Oleg Nilov, and he delivers us a 36-second speech, a clip from his speech. And this is priceless, especially when you are from the Netherlands. This guy ties the money paid by Russian soldiers by buying flowers to delivering shells to armed forces of Ukraine. And he has a good point. Netherlands is the greatest exporter of flowers in the world. They export to Russia also. Russian soldiers and the Russian Ministry of Defense buy a lot of flowers because there's a lot of funerals. Where does this money go to? The Netherlands. What has Netherlands done to Ukraine? They have sent a lot of shells as well because the war criminal Igor Kirkin shot down with his crew the Dutch airplane. There was a lot of Dutch casualties, so Netherlands has a huge grudge against Russia. And now Russian soldiers are buying flowers, paying billions of USD to Netherlands, who is now sending shells to armed forces of Ukraine. I mean, the story is like I would need a folium hat and like, believe me, bro, this is real. But this is the circle of this money. Let's listen to his speech. It's crazy. These flowers that our men stand in lines for are ready to buy for any money they bought and made you happy. Do you know what most of the money went to? Okay, if it was to neutral and friendly countries, but no, to the Netherlands. $6 billion of our men bought flowers and the money. $6 billion of the money went to the Netherlands. And where does the Netherlands send this money and encourage the rest of the gang to do the same? To buy shells for the armed forces of Ukraine. So Russian troops die en masse in Ukraine. They held all these big military funerals with insane amounts of flowers to the Russian soldiers. Most flowers are exported by the Netherlands. So the money goes to the Netherlands, which has a grudge against Russia, and they have any interest to send shells to the armed forces of Ukraine. It is beautiful. This is soft power in its core. I love it. Now, my friends, Zaluzhny and Zelensky had disagreements on the mobilization issues, on mobilization topics. Now Ukraine has a new chief of staff, General Sirsky, and the mobilization in Ukraine will happen. Well, I have no confirmation of this, but I know something of a military. They just need it. They have a huge necessity for it, so it must happen, or they will have to cede a lot of territory. So it will happen. Mobilization, and this is the official Ukrainian Ministry of Defense report, they aim to mobilize 500,000 troops, additional 500,000 troops. This is an insanely large amount to Ukrainian population, about 10 million of which has gone to abroad ever since the war started, and a lot of men have already been volunteers to war, and men are tired. So 500,000 is a huge goal, but they do need it, and I believe they will do it. Now, we don't know when this is going to happen exactly, but when it will, there will be, again, exodus from Ukraine, because nobody wants to fight, nobody wants to die. Even Ukrainians with their huge patriotism right now and the will to defend their country, you still don't want to die under a Russian shell. So this will be a huge event in this war to both sides, this Ukrainian mobilization order, when it comes through. My friends, have you heard about this sentence? I don't know how it is in English, but like it's a barking dog don't bite. It's the same if you respect strength and actions instead of words. If you're that kind of a person, I am that kind of a person. I know that anybody who threatens me, I'm not afraid of them. I'm afraid of actions if they do. Even then, I'm just gonna act back. But words don't mean nothing to me. It's nothing. Words don't, like for an acting person, if you do stuff, words are nothing. Just do it, and your actions speak for themselves. Now, in this light, I want to bring to you the official list of all of these sources, our official Russian diplomats or president or the Minister of Defense or Sergei Lavrov, their official words of nuclear threats. They represent the country and the Kremlin. If they say nuclear threats, it is the Kremlin's nuclear threats against the West. This is the official list of the last 20 years, 2 decades of entire Russian nuclear threat list. We begin in 1999, so only 8 years after the collapse of the Soviet Union. The nuclear threat was brought back on the table, and this was Yeltsin against the United States. Now we see that there are about 10 to 15 nuclear threats all up to 2022, so in 20 years, about 20 official nuclear threats. From 2022 to 2023, there's about 60 of them or 50, it's 2/3 of this entire list. Every other day or every other month, Russian President or Sergei Lavrov issues another nuclear warning or nuclear threat against the West. Well, a barking dog don't bite. If you're serious with it, do it. Do it, go ahead, I dare you, I double dare you. I cannot say the word. No, my friends, I'm not playing that I want World War III here. I don't want nuclear war. But words are empty. if actions don't follow them. And Putin is a huge gambler, he's a huge bluffer, and the more you speak, the less your words mean. So these nuclear threats are empty to me, and if you are afraid of the nuclear war with Russia, then unfortunately these nuclear threats have had their effect on you. Putin has gotten the fear out of you. Well, fear is a choice, my friend. Choose not to be afraid. Now we jump to Ukrainian Kharkiv Oblast, and finally these are the finishing touches of Ukraine building out their static defensive line all across the front. They call it the Donbas line. Oh, I call it the Ukrainian Surovikin line. Now we can call it the Ukrainian Gerasimov line. Well, it's almost finished, and we can see they're deploying the exact same static defenses that were acute in First World War, Second World War, and Russian Surovikin line, which proved to be effective. Now Ukrainians are also doing it because it is effective. Against all of the tactics that Russia is deploying, these lines are very effective. One could say the most effective. We have 2 rows of Dragon's Teeth. We have 3 layers of trenches, defensive positions, zigzag of course. They are deep, and there's an anti-tank ditch, and there are mines. Knowing Russian assault doctrine, it is going to be armored personnel carriers and tanks and infantry. This is everything that stops it. Dragon's Teeth, mines and anti-tank ditches stop every armored vehicles, especially if your artillery is shooting them at the same time. Now, Ukraine has been able to stop countless Russian assaults without such defensive lines. Now, these are ready just 5 to 10 kilometers behind the front line right now. I don't see any way Russia is penetrating this. This is formidable, definitely. Now, my friends, we'll watch a video of how early presidential elections, well, they're supposed to start in 2 days, but in some areas in Russia already early elections are happening because Russia is so big, you gotta be flexible a bit with the dates. Well, here we see a Russian babushka voting. Do you notice anything weird about this voting room or voting ballot? Something strange about it. Is it the Edina Rossiya girl right here? With a V. The thing is, if you vote, Edina Rossiya is one party, United Russia. Russia supposedly has 4 candidates right now from 4 different parties. But only Edina Rossiya girl is present here, is looking what the babushka is doing. He's like, I'm keeping an eye on you. And just ignore the soldier with the Kalashnikov, with the Z symbol. Just ignore him. He's present anyway, everywhere. This is a mobile voting ballot. And the voting ballot has already Edina Rossiya logo on it. Like, imagine you go to vote in the United States, physically. And the voting box itself has a Democrat logo or a Republican logo, only one. Who are you going to vote for? And there's a guy with a Kalashnikov next to you. And there's, it's just so bizarre. Who is Putin trying to fool? This is not a real election. Who is this? Who is this guy with a bathrobe? What the hell? Is somebody sleeping in this area? And the soldier's like, yeah, sorry, babushka with the bathrobe. What the hell is this? Boom, she voted. All right, democracy in Russia. Now, my friends, will go to reporting about deaths of high officers or high position. Russian state-owned oil and gas company Lukoil, the vice president of Lukoil, Vitaly Robertus, just died at the age of 53. And this is just a random piece of information that might not seem interesting to you, but he is the 4th very high official in the Lukoil company that has perished in the last 2 years ever since the start of the full-scale invasion. His death is acute heart failure. I wouldn't be surprised if the Russian authorities would call it a suicide and there was a bullet at the back of his head and then even he jumped out of the window. So how he did it? So he shot himself at the back of the head. Then he jumped out of the window and then he wrote a suicide note. That's the Russian Ministry of Defense handwriting all over it, or FSB handwriting. And I will read you this list of deaths of Russian top brass officials connected to Russian state-owned oil and gas companies. And the Western media don't report on these anymore because they're so often, it gets really repetitive. But let's focus on it now and get your popcorn. This is insane. In May 2022, so 2 months after the full-scale, Alexander Subotin, a former top manager of Lukoil, died under mysterious circumstances. Let me guess, he shot himself at the back of the head 7 times. 1.5 years ago, Ravil Maganov, head of Lukoil's board of directors, fell out of a hospital window. So he was in a hospital. He was in a bed, couldn't walk, and suddenly he found the strength in him to burst himself through the glass and jump out of the window. And then he shot himself in the back of the head 7 times. In October of 2023, the subsequent head of the company, Vladimir Nekrasov, died. Last month, Igor Shechin, head of Gazprom, son, died, and before him, time, there have been a number of other mysterious deaths in the Russian Federation in 2022. Pavel Antov, a lawmaker, fell out of the window. They always find the last strength to commit the suicide by jumping through a window. That takes a lot of dedication. But Russians have a lot of dedication. Before that, Anton had written an anti-war post on social media. Wow, Leonid Shulman, top manager of Gazprom Invest, was found with numerous deep stab wounds in a bathroom on the floor with a suicide note next to him. He managed to stab himself 54 times in the heart and then write a suicide. I shouldn't laugh about these deaths, but it is so bizarre. It's the Russian official version about the deaths. It's so obvious that it was the FSB, it was Putin. Deputy Director of Gazprom Unified Settlement Center of Corporate Security. What a position. Alexander Dulyakov was found hanged in his own apartment with a suicide note. So I guess he hanged himself and then wrote a suicide note. Yuri Voronezh, General Director of Astra Shipping Transportation and Logistics Company servicing Gazprom orders, was found in the swimming pool of his own house with a gunshot wound to the head. They don't even try to find windows to jump out anymore. They're just gunshots. Former Vice President of Gazprom Bank, Vladislav Avayev, his wife and a 13-year-old daughter were found dead in their own apartment. Investigators believe Avayev killed his family and then committed suicide. This is not funny anymore. My God. Vasily Melnikov, billionaire and head of Russian company Medstom, Advanced Technologies and Medicine, his wife and 2 young sons were found dead with stab wounds in their own apartment. According to investigators, Melnikov may have killed his family and then himself. According to investigators, of course, always the guy kills his family and then himself. Of course, that's what people do, right? What successful people, billionaires, head of huge companies do that? Because that's how they behave, right? No, this is FSB goons. Former Novatek top manager Sergei Protezhenia allegedly killed his wife and daughter and then hanged himself in the garden at his home. I'm gonna stop. I can't. This is not even people anymore. This is entire families that Putin is like, oh, this guy, I don't like him. Take his family. This is how Putin makes decisions. Horrible. But my friends, I cannot leave you with this message, so I'll bring in another news to leave you with a good, smiling, hopeful face, because the United States Department has approved Poland's request to buy 96 Apache helicopters. And I said it to you in yesterday's video, but that's not it. In this one, we'll go into what it exactly means, because the list is pretty much endless. Now the cost of this whole packet now is 12 billion USD. And for that money, they will get 1,800 AGM Hellfire missiles, 96 Katsum missiles, 460 JGM missiles, 508 Stinger Block 1 missiles, 7,650 APKWS missiles, and the list goes on and on. So Poland will have a military of a century. They will be a powerhouse. They already are a powerhouse with their military GDP going close to 5%, even very soon crossing that of the United States, being bigger military of GDP than the United States. Now, it will not be Germany and Russia that will divide Poland like in 1939. It will be Poland that divides Belarus and Russia, perhaps, liberating Belarus from the Russian occupiers. Way to go, Polish people. I love how this is going. Now, my friends, I'll bring back something that I haven't done for a month because my Patreon page was deleted for being anti-Russian. Well, now I'm in Buy Me a Coffee, which is a pro-Ukraine, pro-Western page. They do not operate in Russia. So I'll butcher you 10 names that have become a member of my Buy Me a Coffee page. And I'm so glad you guys came back, actually, after my Patreon was taken. Sveinung, Rankavik, Steph, Walter E. Tollefson, Artur with H, but in Estonia my name is without the H. Davide. Thank you to these people for signing up and giving me back my security. Until my next video, my friends, which is tomorrow, so be back and also subscribe. Slava Ukraini, and bye-bye.